Okay, this video is going to be a quick, I guess, review on the different operations of decimals. We're really not going to focus on the why today, but rather the how. How do we do this? Okay. So we're going to talk about addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division of decimals. I'm going to start off by talking about addition and subtraction of decimals. I think the first thing we need to remember, and I think we do a good job remembering this, is when we add or subtract decimals, we need to make sure we line up the place values. Or the decimals. Okay, and to illustrate this, let's go ahead and start off with an example. Let's start off with 3 and 65/100ths plus 0 and 7/10. Now we need to make sure that when we add this up, we go ahead and line it up vertically, line it up as a column, and then we work it out. So most of us will go ahead and set up this way: 3 and 65/100ths, 3 and 65/100ths. Why is this not erasing? There it goes. 3 and 65/100ths, and we're going to say plus 7/10, and we're going to make sure we many of us are going to just put it on the very right side so it lines up like that, and we add it together. Okay. However, this is incorrect. We do not set it up this way. What we do want to do is we want to set it up, and we want to make sure that the decimals are lined up. Here the decimals are not lined up, so we're going to go ahead and line up the decimals. Okay, so there's 0 wholes and 7/10, and some of us like to add the 0 here. We could certainly add the 0 here if we want. We're really essentially adding 5 plus 0 to get 5. 6 plus 7, 13. We carry the 1 over, and then 1 plus 3 is 4, and we have the place value here. So 3 and 65/100ths plus 7/10 is going to be 4 and 35/100ths. This will be the same with subtraction. If I have something like 7 minus 65/100ths, and I set up the subtraction, okay, remember this is 7 wholes and this is 0 wholes, so we're going to set it up like this: 7 minus 0 and 65/100ths. Since this is 7 wholes, we can imagine that the decimal is right here, okay, and there would be no tenths and no hundredths. Okay, and we do need to set up a law of borrowing here. I'm going to go ahead, and since we can't do 0 minus 5, we can't take 5 from 0, we're going to borrow the tenths. Here, since we didn't have enough tenths, we have to borrow it from the whole, and then since we borrowed a tenths here for the hundredths, we're going to change this to 9 now. So 10 minus 5 is 5, 9 minus 6 is 3, just put the decimal down, and 6 minus 0 is 6. 7 minus 65/100ths is 6 and 35/100ths. Okay, the next thing I want to look at is multiplication of decimals. To multiply decimals, many of us do a good job remember this. We multiply like normal, and then we move decimal over the same number of places as in our factors. Okay, so through my language, through the written explanation, might sound a little complicated, but we could certainly make sense of this if we look at an example. Let's take a look at an example. Let's say we have 3 and 25/100ths times 52/100ths. Okay, this is how we would set it up. We don't need to line up the decimals as if we were adding or subtracting. Again, we do not need to line up the decimals. It just happens to be lined up in this case. Okay, from here I'm gonna multiply like normal, so I'm going to ignore the decimal places for now. So to do that, 5 times 2 is 10. Carry the 1 up here. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 3 times 2 is 6. And since now I'm multiplying in tenths place, I'm going to kind of, ignore this place value. 5 times 5 is 5. I'm sorry, 25. I'm going to carry the 2 up here. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. I'm going to carry the 1 here. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16. And 325 times 0 is 0. So I could write a bunch of zeros, skip 2 lines and put zeros, but in the end it'll be the same thing. Okay, and I'm going to add it up. 0. 5 plus 5 is 10. 1 plus 6 is 7, plus 2 is 9. 6 plus 0 is 6. 1 plus 0 is 1. Okay, now we have to move the decimal over the same number of places as in our factors. So I'm going to count how many place values, place values do I have to the right of the decimals. Here I have 1, 2, 3, and 4 total. I have 4 place values. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my decimal is going to move over 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, again, here's 1, 2, 3, 4. I moved over 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So my product, once I multiply this out, is 1 and, I could put all the zeros, 1 and 69 10,000ths, or I could just say it's 1 and 69 hundredths. 1 and 69 hundredths. The final operation would be the division of decimals. For the division of decimals, let's start off by talking about some vocabulary really quickly. Let's go ahead and say I have the the expression. Let's see, 5 and I think 95 hundredths divided by 0 and 7 tenths. Okay, it's going to equal some number. Okay, let's go over the vocabulary. This the 5 and 95 hundredths is going to be called the dividend. The 7 tenths, 0 and 7 tenths, is the divisor. And the answer to the division question is called the quotient. Okay, so those are the 3 vocabulary, and I'm going to use this vocabulary in my explanation right now. When I'm dividing decimals, I need to kind of set it up so that I could easily set the division. If we look at it, what we'll do is we'll set up as a division using the radical, not the radical, the I guess I don't even know the vocabulary. I call it the house. So we'll set up this way: 0 and 7 tenths, the divisor is on the outside, divided by 5 and 95 hundredths. We'll set up this way. This is the correct way. The dividend goes inside, the divisor goes outside. But what we're confused about now is now we have the decimals here. We have the decimal in the divisor, so we don't know what to do with that. So what we like to do is we like to, let me kind of just write the notes here. We like to change the divisor into a whole number. Okay, just the divisor. We could change both the divisor and the dividend, but we really only need the divisor. So to do that, I'm going to move the decimal over the same number of place values in both divisor and dividend. So let's go ahead and look at this original expression we had: 5 and 95 hundredths divided by 0 and 7 tenths. Okay, in the divisor, which is the 7 tenths, okay, I need to make a whole number. So how many times do I need to move this decimal place over? Just one time. Okay, so in the dividend, how many times am I going to move the decimal over? One time. Okay, so we come up with the new expression that we could work with now. The expression being 59 and 5 tenths divided by 7 wholes. Now we could go ahead and set the the division. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and use orange. We're gonna have 59 hundredths divided 59 and 5 tenths divided by 7. Okay, let's see if we have enough room. Okay, so 7 does not go into 5. 7 goes into 59 8 times. 8 times 7 is 56. And we're going to go ahead and subtract. 59 minus 56 is 3. We're going to drop the 5 down. 7 goes into 35 exactly 5 times. Okay, and we could double check to make sure, and that's going to leave us with nothing remaining. And we go ahead and we just move the decimal right up. So the decimal just goes straight up. So 59 and 5 tenths divided by 7 is equal to 8 and 5 tenths. The quotient is 8 and 5 tenths. So that's how we go ahead and we look at addition, subtraction, multiplication, and then finally division of decimals.